Pleasant greetings to all of you in Radio Land and those of you listening via social media and the internet. This is Inside the News here on WINN FM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining the program. We'll take a quick ad break, and when we come back, we'll get the program going for today.
Your medication is easy with City Drug Store's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drug Store's curbside pickup service.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Don't stop, won't stop, can't stop the never-ending cashback at Horsewoods. Yes, it's that time of the year. Double cashback coupon season is here. The season when Horsewoods Furniture and Appliances gives away millions in free groceries with every FlexPay purchase and a chance to win 1 year in free groceries with a never-ending double cashback. Yes, the Horsewoods never-ending double cashback is back for even more free groceries. This is double cashback coupon season, so come today and get double cashback coupons for absolutely free groceries in the never-ending double cashback promotion. Yes, happening now. Get double cashback coupons for absolutely free groceries with every higher purchase. The never-ending double cashback is back at Horsewoods Furniture and Appliances and Ashley Furniture Home Store, where you get double cashback coupons for free groceries with every FlexPay purchase. Don't stop, won't stop, can't stop the never-ending savings, never-ending discounts, never-ending quality and service, and the never-ending double cashback for this double cashback coupon season. Don't miss it. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
People make the world go
Good morning, Sinkers and Nevis, and welcome to Inside the News right here on WINN FM 98.9. It is Saturday, September 24, 2022, and it is just about 8 minutes rather, past the hour of 11 here in our studios. Thank you so much for joining the program. Good morning to those of you who have joined via the radio, and of course those of you on social media, on the various social media platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Thank you so much for joining the program today. Today I want to look at the General Assembly, or the address or the statement by the Prime Minister at the 77th General Assembly of the United Nations. Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew spoke at that event, the United Nations General Assembly, and spoke on a number of areas, including education, women and youth empowerment, climate action and security, transformation of the Education Summit, as well as relationships and partnerships with countries such as Taiwan. And so throughout the rest of the program, or throughout the first hour, we will be playing some parts of his speech yesterday, Friday, and we'll be commenting on that. All right, so coming up next is the opening address by the Prime Minister. This is the opening part of his speech at the General Assembly of the United Nations. And as I said, the Prime Minister spoke on a number of areas, including education, climate action and security, partnerships with different countries, and the list goes on. So I'll play a clip for you now, and this is the opening part of his address to the General Assembly of the United Nations. Have a listen.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished delegates, I congratulate you on your elections as the President of the General Assembly of this august body. I also pause to salute your predecessor in office, His Excellency Abdullah Shahid, the Foreign Minister of Maldives, for his sterling tenure during his service. I recognize the Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, for his outstanding stewardship over the past few years. Mr. President, it is indeed an honor for me to address this body for the first time since assuming the role of Prime Minister just 44 days ago. I therefore bring you greetings from the government and people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and we pledge our unswerving support to the ethos of this great body. I have assumed my new responsibilities when the complexities of the multiple and interlocking challenges facing humanity that require from us a renewed commitment to the democratic principle and multilateralism. It is clear to me that the tectonic plates of geopolitics and global stability are shifting beneath us. What are those tectonic shifts? It is now certain that knowledge that a pathogen can emerge with lethal power, that it threatens the very survival of mankind. The coincidence in timing of a global pandemic and a war with growing calamity of the climate crisis has exposed the fragility, vulnerability, and instability of the global supply chains of food, staples, and other essentials. Power shifts are taking place in international relations as the influence of some countries rises and others wanes. With this has come an insistence for reform to the United Nations to make it more relevant and reflective of the composition of today's world and current power structures, including reform of the anachronistic Security Council. The effect and widespread nature of technology is creating change faster than most can manage. Faith in multilateral systems is being eroded, and its capacity to do global good is being jeopardized by the rising crass, unbridled nationalism, which has shown the powerful to be nonchalant to the suffering of anyone other than their own population.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM.
People make the world.
TDC Financial Services. We're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small, we'll support you with them all. TDC Financial Services. We are strong. TDC Financial Services. This is where you belong.
TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Here are your Horsewood Value Mart IGA Value Club Blue Tag specials from September 22nd through October 5th. Arm & Hammer liquid detergent, just $34.99. Bertolli olive oil, $23.99. Bounty Essential paper towel, big rolls, $36.99. IGA or Essential Everyday waffles, just $8.99. Ocean Spray 100% cranberry juice mixes, $11.99. Essential Everyday breadcrumbs, just $6.99. And now, our very low weekly
value deals. Bugles or Chex Mix snacks, $11.99. Essential Everyday canned fruits, $7.99. IGA Essential Everyday chunk like tuna, $3.49. Essential Everyday shredded and chunk cheeses, $7.99. Arm & Hammer toothpaste, $11.99. Gatorade drinks, $4.49. Shop smart, shop value mart. Don't let it Spanish.
sea listo y haga sus compras aquí a Value Mart.
People make the world go.
Welcome back to Inside the News here on WINN FM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining the program. It is Saturday, September 24, 2022. Just 17 minutes past the hour of 11. For those of you just tuning in, that was the address, the opening address, by Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew at the General Assembly of the United Nations on Friday. The Prime Minister spoke sometime around 5 p.m. Friday, and that was his address. As I stated earlier, he spoke on areas of education, climate action and security, partnerships and relationships with other countries. And as the Prime Minister stated, that was his first time addressing the body since being sworn in as Prime Minister in August of a month ago. And we will be touching on the areas that he spoke about, such as education and women and youth empowerment, as well as climate action and security. We know we have COP27 coming up in November, and the Minister with responsibility for climate action and environment is expected to attend the COP27 in November. of this year. Sorry. And so there are a number of areas that the Caribbean governments are working on, and the General Assembly at the UN yesterday, they used the opportunity to highlight some of the areas that their government would be paying attention to and trying to address those issues. Now, as I said, the Prime Minister spoke about education and youth empowerment, and we know here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have, youth organizations and the government and Ministry of Education have been playing their part in, really focusing on education and ensuring that there is access to education for citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. We know year after year, scholarships are offered through different partnerships with different governments across the region and internationally. We know each year Taiwan would sponsor scholarships. Countries like Serbia, Morocco, these are countries that would give scholarships to St. Kitts and Nevis and other members of the Eastern Caribbean or of CARICOM by extension. And so the Prime Minister used the opportunity to speak on education and some of the other areas under that subject that his government is paying attention to. Of course, during the program, we will want to get your feedback on the Prime Minister's address and some of the areas that he spoke to. The phone lines are ringing off the hook, and so I'm going to take some calls right now. Let's open the phone lines. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Hello, caller, good morning. You're on the air. Caller? Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. I'm not getting that caller. So in the meantime, I'll play the address where the Prime Minister spoke specifically to education, women, and youth empowerment.
We continue to invest in social empowerment programs in order to build resilience in our people and our economy. One such area is education, which is one of society's greatest equalizer. St. Kitts and Nevis reaffirms that access to quality education is a human right and the foundation of sustainable development of thriving societies. We welcome the Transforming Educational Summit that was held earlier this week, and I'm happy to report that our government has committed to entering a new pact, a new deal on education, as it were, that will reform, transform, and reinvigorate our education system based on equality, access, and inclusion. In fact, just a few weeks ago, our government, my government, made a decision to introduce free tertiary education to ensure that all people can have equal access regardless of their socio-economic status. Other goals for education reforms include, but are not limited to, 1, incorporating STEAM specialist spaces in all schools. 2, reintroducing the iLiteracy one-to-one laptop program. And 3, strengthening technical and vocational education by providing alternative programming and scholarships. Mr. President, as part of my government's thrust to mainstream empowerment across all sectors and policies, St. Kitts and Nevis will continue to put women and youth at the forefront of our social development and all our pursuits, including the advancement of the digital economy. We are confident our active inclusion of women and youth in public life through their appointment in our parliament, diplomatic and senior civil service, and other decision-making fora will bear much fruit. Therefore, it is against this backdrop that we pledge our support to the ongoing process of the Declaration of Future Generation that will culminate in the Summit of the Future next year, and pledge as its leader my country's active commitment to meeting Goal 5 of the SDG and surpassing or meeting the goals of Belém de Pará in achieving gender equality now and for future generations.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM.
People make the world go round.
Welcome back to Inside the News here on WINN FM 98.9. That was Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, speaking at the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly on Friday. The Prime Minister spoke on education, youth and women empowerment, and some of the areas that the government has been working on. He also spoke about climate action and security. The phone lines are open and we're taking your calls at 466-0989, 762-0989, or 662-0989. Give your thoughts on the Prime Minister's presentation. And, here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we often would comment on a number of areas in our country that we think more attention needs to be directed. And people oftentimes have very strong, compelling arguments, as to why something should be this way and as to why we should do it this way. And for the most part, the arguments are filled with, as we would say, it makes sense. It makes sense, listening to everybody give their opinion, give their take on it. I think for the most part, with the Prime Minister's address, you would agree, or you would say rather, that for his first time, it was a sound address. It was a really good address, and commenting on the areas that the government or governments as a whole across the region should really be focusing on: education, youth, and women empowerment. And of course, here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have a number of active youth organizations and youth organizations that are really making a difference, and those trying to make a difference, and those really doing their part in community and nation building. We have a caller on the line. Let's take this call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Hello, caller. Good morning. You're on the air. Okay, I'm not getting that caller. That caller. Right, so that was the Prime Minister speaking on those areas. And as I said, we have a number of youth organizations and groups in St. Kitts and Nevis that, they have been really doing their part. They've been, and for those who are not as active, they've really been trying to do their part in community and nation building. And it is the support that they would require to ensure that they can carry out what they want to do. I think what the people of St. Kitts and Nevis are really looking forward to as well is not just lip service for saying, well, we're going to do this or we're going to make investments in this area, in that area, but you want to see some real action. You know, time after time, we often hear of, I hate to use this word, but promises of work that is going to be done in different areas of the economy. And a few years later, people, perhaps stop talking about it, and then that's it. You hear nothing else about it, and nothing much is done. So, as I said, the expectations are really high, and people want to see some real action. People want to see some real action. People want to see actual things happen. And I do believe that this is the general mindset of Caribbean people. Oftentimes, there are some who would not hold governments accountable. We would often try to find an excuse and say, oh, the government can't do this, the government can't do that. Of course, not saying that governments should do everything. Of course, that is why we have private organizations and we have the private sector, that they too would have to play a role in the country's social and economic development. But I think oftentimes we give them an easy pass. And so areas that they promised that they were going to pay much attention to, they come, they give a little bit of lip service, and then that's it. We never hear anything else about it, which is really sad. So, the areas that we continue to, we are looking forward for great things to be done. I mean, I must say at the same time, in terms of education, when it was announced by the government that they were going to make tertiary education free of cost in terms of, students attending the CFBC, I think that was a very good and bold move, because there are a lot of people who have opted out of attending college because of financial issues and other issues. They may not be able to afford the cost, and that is a wonderful opportunity that has been provided there. The Prime Minister also spoke about the reintroduction of the one-to-one laptop program, which has been a major talking point in our local politics. Of course, in the 2015 general elections, when the new government, the Team United administration, took office, there were some changes made there, and the one-to-one laptop program that had stopped, and of course, since then has been a major talking point, and many people have been talking about it, giving their suggestions as to why the program should have been continued, or making recommendations, suggestions as to, how you can improve the program. I note that one of the concerns with that program was that, it was not properly rolled out, and the stakeholders such as teachers and parents and principals and those really involved in the program may not have been exposed to adequate training to ensure that the laptops can be, utilized to its fullest. But with the reintroduction, we are hoping that will be the first step. So when we are talking about the reintroduction of the one-to-one laptop program, we're hoping that it's not just going to be, we go back to the program and we start to give the students laptops again, because you're going to end back up in a situation where some of the students don't even know how to utilize the laptops. The parents themselves may not know. Some teachers may not know, believe it or not. So training and setting up a proper structure would ensure the longevity of the program. And so having talks with the different schools, parents and teachers, and really finding out the needs, because I don't think you should be giving a laptop to every child. When I say that, I say that to say that for those children who already have laptops, then there's no need for you to get one. And you saw where the last time the program was rolled out, I know of students who already had laptops, who already had access to device to do whatever, and they got laptops. And so a study should be done, some homework should be done to ensure that when you're rolling out this program, you roll out the program with the intention or to ensure that the program can continue for a very long time to come. Not just to implement the program and then you find that the government is spending all of this money on this program and you're not really seeing the benefits, you're not seeing the returns of what you really want to see. So we're hoping that in that area, it's not just lip service and that we can see some action. I have said a lot has been done, or something has been done, with the tertiary education and making that affordable, making that free in terms of students attending CFBC. And I'm not certain of what discussions are happening now with the within the Ministry of Education, but the new Education Minister, Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, has been really excited about entering or becoming the Minister of Education. Of course, he has mentioned a number of plans and programs that he would want to implement as the minister with responsibility for education. And so the expectation is really high, and it's just for us to, wait and see, and, hope that great work would be done in this field. Realistically speaking, it is governments are given a 5-year term, and some of the promises that have been made over the years, not necessarily you can't achieve them within a 5-year window. At times, promises will be made, and you realize that it will take up to sometimes 15 years for some of these projects and policies to be fully implemented. And that is why you see whenever parties roll out their manifestos, we should really look at them and analyze them and look at some of the projects that, within a 2-year period, within a 3-year, 5-year term, these are some of the things that we would be looking forward to. And if these things are not done, then we're going to hold you accountable. But there's just certain programs and projects that cannot be completed within a 5-year window. It is, before I continue, I wanted to play the clip as well with the Prime Minister speaking on climate action and security, the environment. There, the Prime Minister spoke about, some of the plans his government has, and of course, Senkis Nevis's role in ensuring that there is real climate action and security. And of course, with COP27 coming up in November of this year, Senkis Nevis is expected to be represented there. So I'll play the clip with the Prime Minister speaking on climate action. No, have a listen.
Mr. President, every country on the planet, national populations have had to confront the reality of climate change. As our planet heats up, so too have the frustrations and impatience of the global's ordinary citizens who feel they are losing the fight to make ends meet and secure the future of their children. Small island developing states and other developing nations experience a reality plagued by this continuous existential threat. With the passage of every hurricane, every outbreak of war, and every global food shortage, we all remain at risk of tipping the balance that we have striven to create over these many, many years. Thus, it is not enough for us to articulate this grim reality year after year. We must now look to act in ways that provide tailored responses to these vulnerabilities as to foster true resilience and risk mitigation. Therefore, I humbly urge countries to honor the financial commitments made before the COP 26 to double contribution to adaptation financing by 2025. A delayed response to these commitments would further imperil our developing nations. Climate financing, resiliency, and environmental conservation must be integrated into national development policies and must be at the forefront of our global development agenda.
Found the South 98.9. WINN FM.
People make the world go
Yes?
Jean!
Boy, this place hot, boy. I can't take it.
Well, it's a good thing I called. The TDC Home and Building Depots are having their Cool 'em Down sale with 20% discount on fans, AC units, coolers, fridges, and more to beat this heat, girl.
Girl, Betty, you're making joke.
No, so stop sweating and let's go to the store now.
Ooh, you come pick me up, because may want to miss this sale at TDC Home and Building Depot.
Yeah, man. And don't forget you can also shop online too, using shoptdcgroup.com.
Cool.
Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects or sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Horsford's Value Mart IGA is helping you spend less and save more. How, you ask? Essential Everyday and Equiline. Spend less on our Essential Everyday products and get the best quality, the best taste, and the best value. Spend less for all your family health and beauty needs with the Equiline brand of over-the-counter products. Horsford's Value Mart IGA is helping you spend less. With our Essential Everyday products and Equiline over-the-counter health and beauty care products. Shop smart and spend less at Value Mart, where price matters most.
People make the world go
Welcome back to Inside the News. We have some callers on the line. Let's head to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. You on the air? Hello, caller. Good morning. You're on the air. Okay, I'm not getting that caller in. Please try to call us back at 466-0989-762-0989 or 662-0989. It is 11:42 here in the studios of WINN FM 98.9, and you're logged into Inside the News. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. For those of you who are just joining the program, we are commenting on the statement made by the Prime Minister at the 77th General Assembly of the United Nations, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew. Now, as I said, the Prime Minister spoke on climate action and security, and we know COP27 is coming up in November of this year, and the Minister with responsibility for climate action, Dr. Joel Clark, is expected to attend that. And a delegation will be attending that meeting or that forum in November. And it says that the participation in the series of meetings leading up to COP27 in Egypt, which was held under the theme Together for Implementation, was intentional and part of the Minister of Environment and Climate Action, Dr. Joel Clark, to ensure that St. Nevis is once again a significant part of the global and regional debate on climate finance, loss and damage, and climate action. St. Nevis, by virtue of its CBI program, is usually listed as a high-income country, which precludes its participation in our access to development grants, usually reserved for low-income countries. Additionally, to ensure that St. Nevis is able to access private sector investment partnership options, there is a need for high-level representatives to engage on the global scale. Having recently included climate action as a major portfolio, there is a need to ensure the government is intentional about participation and further the following through on the outcomes of meetings. Now, the Green Climate Fund Conference and the UN General Assembly are two critical meetings where climate finance and climate action are prioritized. Key proposals already developed due to the partnership and commitments include working on national projects with support of the 5 Cs and the GCF. And the bilateral meetings at the sessions have already confirmed the support of Antigua and Barbuda for St. Nevis, moving towards... The bilateral meetings at the sessions have already confirmed the support of Antigua and Barbuda for St. Nevis, moving towards adaptation fund access and renewing the climate roof to reef program in Barbados. Dr. Clark expressed that her decision to partner with the Minister of Energy is intentional and deliberate, as this new government must stay true to the commitment made by the Prime Minister to become a fully sustainable island state. Renewable energy, climate manufacturing, high-tech schools, and sustainable tourism, including food security through climate-smart agricultural practices, demand that this new government forge partnerships at the ministerial level. Ministers will continue to attend workshops together where needed to ensure that ministries move along one common goal: sustainability and climate resilience. And this is according to the St. Nevis Information Service. And the headline is Minister of Environment attends series of climate meetings leading up to COP27. All right, some callers are coming in. Let's see if we can get this call in. Okay, we seem to have lost that call. Please call us back at 466-0989. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Hello, caller. Can you hear me? Caller, go ahead. All right, I'm not getting that caller in. Let's take a quick break to see if we can get that sorted out as quickly as possible. And when we come back, we'll continue Inside the News right here on WINN FM 98.9. Let's take this break and we'll be right back.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drug Stores curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drugstore's curbside pickup service.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Don't stop, won't stop, can't stop the never-ending cashback at Horsewood's. Yes, it's that time of the year. Double cashback coupon season is here. The season when Horsewood's Furniture and Appliances gives away millions in free groceries with every FlexPay purchase and a chance to win 1 year in free groceries with a never-ending double cashback. Yes, the Horsewood's never-ending double cashback is back for even more free groceries. This is double cashback coupon season, so come today and get double cashback coupons for absolutely free groceries in the never-ending double cashback promotion. Yes, happening now. Get double cashback coupons for absolutely free groceries with every higher purchase. The never-ending double cashback is back at Horsewood's Furniture and Appliances and Ashley Furniture Home Store, where you get double cashback coupons for free groceries with every FlexPay purchase. Don't stop, won't stop, can't stop the never-ending savings, never-ending discounts, never-ending quality and service, and the never-ending double cashback for this double cashback coupon season. Don't miss it. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
People make the world go
Welcome back to Inside the News here on WINN FM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining the program. We're about to wrap up the first hour. It was mainly playing some parts of the statement made by Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew at the 77th General Assembly of the United Nations. And as I said, the Prime Minister spoke on areas of education, youth and women empowerment, social development, climate action and security, partnerships with countries and governments. Altogether, the statement or the speech by the Prime Minister was about 15 minutes thereabout. But these are some of the areas that he spoke about. All right, we have a caller on the line. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Hello, caller. Good morning. You're on the air. Okay, we seem to have lost that. The caller not getting that caller in. We're going to try to get that sorted out as soon as possible. Let's see if we can get this with the caller in. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Okay, we're not getting that caller. We're having some technical difficulties with the phone line throughout the news break. We'll see if we can get that sorted out as soon as possible. And we sincerely apologize for the inconvenience caused, but we will look at that throughout the break, the news break. But as I said, the Prime Minister spoke on a number of areas that, we here in St. Kitts and Nevis and people generally across the Caribbean have been, giving their views on. Oftentimes we have governments that come and make all of these glorious speeches and all of these wonderful ideas and all of these things that they want to do. And oftentimes we see nothing happen. And so that is why you find sometimes people don't even take time out of their schedule to listen or to pay attention to some of these things because they're let down time after time after time. Not suggesting that this would be the case. It is perhaps too early for anybody to make such suggestion. But I say that to say is because it is something, it is like a trend in the Caribbean where, we come and we make all of these promises and say that, we're going to focus on education, we're going to focus on social development, you're going to focus on crime and crime reduction and all of these things and tourism and the list goes on. And oftentimes not much is done. And so the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, they have we have a task of holding our government accountable to ensure that the things that we called for are looked after, are addressed, the issues are addressed, and things that they promised are addressed. I mean, just like we did with the previous government. And this is not a case of comparing the government, the Labour Party government and the Team Unity government. It's a case of, governments generally, I find that we often find excuses and say, well, the government can't do this and da-da-da-da. I mean, I understand the early stages of it. I mean, realistically, there are certain things that need time. You come in, you do your assessment, you find out the state of the finances or the state of the country before you can do anything real, before you can make any real change. But what we don't want to see is the people dragging their feet. And this is a message to our counterparts across the Caribbean or the Caribbean governments. We don't want to see our governments dragging their feet because you have a situation where the private sector, they too have been doing their part to ensure that, nation and community development, providing opportunities in education and all of that, But I find that sometimes it is just a lazy mentality and, not much serious work is ever done. As I am talking about work being done and having really wanting to see more, our Attorney General, the Honorable Garth Wilkin, recently made mention of a number of areas that the government intends to look at and spoke about some of the changes that would be coming. He spoke on the Integrity in Public Life Act, the Freedom of Information Act, and the introduction of an Anti-Corruption Act. And he said that those laws will be fully operational in 2022. And so we have October, November, December left. And the Attorney General has given his commitment to get these laws operationalized. And we're hoping that this can be done. We know that some of the groundwork had already been done. When we had the media association here on early this week, the first Vice President, Mr. Bart, spoke about or made mention of some of the meetings that the association held with the former AG and the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs. And it was revealed that some of the work had already started, and so there should be no lengthy delay and say, we have to do this or we can't get this done, because some of the groundwork had already been done. And so it is now just for the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs under the leadership of now Garth Wilkin to get these things on the road. To get these things on the road and not to drag our feet and, come and make excuses and say why we couldn't do this and why we couldn't do that. But these things are necessary. The Freedom of Information Act, providing a legal pathway or a legal avenue for people to request information from the government. One of the greatest challenges we have now, and this is something I want to put in before we go for the headline news, is that trying to get information from the government is a challenge. I must say that some of the ministries and departments, they have their Facebook page and website where you can go and find some of the information, which is really good. But the as simple as interacting with a civil servant or a government employee, it is so hard. Where sometimes they try to safeguard information, you're like, what is this? And so the Freedom of Information Act, provides the legal pathway or the legal avenue for the government to provide information upon people making requests. It's not just for the media, it's not just for journalists and reporters, but generally people think it's a nevis to request information from the government. It is the top of the hour, and so we'll take this break now for the headline news, and when we come back, we'll continue Inside the News here on WINN FM 98.9. Thank you guys so much for joining us in the program today. We'll take this break for the headline news, and we'll be right back.
You found the sound. 98.9. WINN FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and the ICDF Taiwan Technical Mission.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a local reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business property, we got you covered. Motor or personal 461 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Think before you bin it. There can be some use in it. The Nevis Solid Waste Management Authority, in collaboration with Taiwan ICDF Technical Mission and the Department of Environment, presents Let's Recycle. We're encouraging all residential homes, commercial businesses, and schools to bring along your plastic bottles, metal cans, and aluminum cans, ready for an opportunity to win big. From 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the following locations: in Nevis, every second and fourth Friday of each month at Delta Petroleum, Ex-Petrol in Camps, Big Six in Gingerland, and the Old Artisan Village in Charlestown. In St. Kitts, every second and fourth Tuesday at the Connery Roundabout, every first and third Tuesday at Buckley's parking lot in front of Best Buy, and the last Saturday of each month in Dieppe Bay. But wait, that's not all. 1 pound equals 1 point. So bring your recyclables and build up your points for a chance to win stainless steel thermal bottles, flatware, and much more. To learn more about the recycling project, do visit our Facebook page at Let's Recycle in St. Kitts and Nevis, or contact us at 465-2372. The choice is yours. Save it or waste it. You are the difference. So think smart. Take PAT, reduce, reuse, recycle.
With the WINN Headline News, I am Kevon Brown. Making the headlines: missing person Zonna Hamilton found dead. Caribbean leaders address the 77th United Nations General Assembly. St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister addresses climate security, education, and more. The Honorable Dr. Joel Clark attends the 77th United Nations General Assembly in New York. St. Lucia moving ahead with plans to implement universal health care. Internationally, Ukrainians have reported armed soldiers going door to door in occupied parts of the country to collect votes for self-styled referendums on joining Russia. Now, the details. WINN has been made aware that on September 24th, Zonna Hamilton, 43, from Barnes Gut, Nevis, was found dead. According to information reaching our news desk, at about 6:40 a.m. on September 24th, a joint team comprising the Police, Fire and Rescue Service, Community Emergency Response Team, and civilians found the body of Zonna Hamilton of Barnes Gut in a car at the top of Government Road. Before her body was found, the 43-year-old woman was last seen at about 1 a.m. on Government Road in Charlestown, Nevis on September 21st and was subsequently reported missing. It was reported that Hamilton's body was found partially decomposed. The body of Zonna Hamilton was expected to be buried at 11 a.m. on September 24th. Anyone with information on this incident is asked to contact the Charlestown Police Station at 469-5391, their nearest police station, or call the crime hotline at 707. More on this as information becomes available. Leaders from around the world have been voicing their concerns about the state of the global socio-economic and political affairs, from the wars in Ukraine, Syria, Yemen, and parts of Africa to supply chain issues and the continued impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. At the 77th session of the General Assembly of the United Nations for the past week, September 20th through 26th, 2022. The 77th United Nations General Assembly is being held under the theme A Watershed Moment, Transformative Solutions to Interlocking Challenges. Caribbean leaders, including Prime Minister Mia Mottley out of Barbados, raised concerns over climate change and its effects, not just the infrastructural effects, but also the economic impact on countries and territories whose greenhouse gas emissions are negligible. Mottley also indicated that the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, quote, no longer serve the purpose in the 21st century that they served in the 20th century, end quote. Prime Ministers Gaston Brown of Antigua and Barbuda, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and St. Lucia's Philip J. Pierre also voiced concern over the ongoing wars and their effects on small island developing states and expressed their condemnation of the ongoing embargoes on Cuba and Venezuela. St. Lucia's Prime Minister said,
"In the interest of peace and stability in the contemporary global political environment, we continue to call for the reduction of tension and normalization of relations with our regional neighbors of Venezuela and Cuba. And in this regard, Mr. President, in keeping with the Charter of the United Nations on the people's right to self-determination and political independence, we once again call for the immediate removal of the inhumane economic embargo against Cuba. Given the devastating impacts of the sanctions on the Venezuelan people, coupled with the COVID-19 pandemic, and compounded by the expanding crisis of the world economy arising out of the war in Ukraine, let us also use this moment as a watershed for lifting the painful sanctions against the people of Venezuela."
Prime Minister Gaston Brown on Cuba.
I'll start with the Cuban embargo imposed by the United States that is hampering the Cuban people in their collective efforts to achieve economic and social development. This unjust embargo is seriously undermining Cuba's efforts to eliminate poverty and improve the living standards of its people. The government of Antigua and Barbuda urges the United States to immediately lift the 60-year economic embargo against Cuba and allow the 11 million Cubans an opportunity to be prosperous and a fair chance at achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Antigua and Barbuda looks forward to the normalization of relations between the United States and Venezuela in the interest of hemispheric peace and prosperity. Mr. President, the incongruous criterion applied by international financial and development institutions and the governments that control their policies to classify some SIDS, such as mine, in the same category as the United States, Japan, and Germany because of the skewed measurement of high per capita income is one such condition that is undermining our development. For decades, my small country has been denied access to concessional financing because of this single criterion.
Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, National Security and Immigration, Health and Social Security of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honorable Dr. Terence Michael Drew, gave his first address at the general debate of the 77th session of the General Assembly of the United Nations on September 23rd. Prime Minister Drew reminded the General Assembly that no nation can defend itself against all threats to development alone, and the challenges countries face are global and demand a global response, through the words of the 7th Secretary General, His Excellency Kofi Annan. Dr. Drew spoke of climate security as part of international security, especially for vulnerable and developing nations.
We must therefore use the 77th General Assembly not merely for political posturing, but for resolute recommitment to multilateral cooperation. For small island developing states and indeed vulnerable peoples everywhere, there can be no international security without climate security. This requires collective fidelity to multilateral action for our very survival. I am ready, and I am sure that all of us are eager to build a better world through multilateral action and uphold with all our will and might this sacred tenet of the United Nations. Even as geopolitics and great power competition is exacerbating conflict and the climate catastrophe, we must face the hard truth that only through multilateralism will we face the global trajectory, will we force the global trajectory toward global peace, prosperity, and sustainability.
Another point of importance in Dr. Drew's address was education and the need to invest in social empowerment programs to build resilience in people and the economy through education, referencing the Transforming Education Summit held earlier.
St. Kitts and Nevis reaffirms that access to quality education is a human right and the foundation of sustainable development of thriving societies. We welcome the Transforming Educational Summit that was held earlier this week, and I'm happy to report that our government has committed to entering a new pact, a new deal on education, as it were, that will reform, transform, and reinvigorate our education system based on equality, access, and inclusion. In fact, just a few weeks ago, our government, my government, made a decision to introduce free tertiary education to ensure that all people can have equal access regardless of their socio-economic status. Other goals for education reforms include, but are not limited to, 1, incorporating STEAM specialist spaces in all schools. 2, reintroducing the iLiteracy one-to-one laptop program. And 3, strengthening technical and vocational education by providing alternative programming and scholarships.
Dr. Drew closed by complimenting the theme of the General Assembly, saying,
The theme for this year's General Assembly shares the idea of watershed, which speaks to the significant and transformational changes that are taking place. The challenges faced by the countries of the world and their people, and indeed interlocking, and we must resolve them together. The issue for us is, how will we bring that change about for those who most need it?
The United Nations General Assembly is the principal policy-making organ of the United Nations. It comprises all member states and provides a unique forum for multilateral discussion of the full spectrum of international issues covered by the Charter of the United Nations. Each of the 193 member states of the United Nations has an equal vote. The following is a press release on the activities. The following is from a press release on the activities of the Honorable Dr. Joel Clark at the 77th United Nations General Assembly in New York. Following last week's Green Climate Fund Global Conference in the Republic of Korea, the Honorable Dr. Joel Clark, Minister of Sustainable Development, Environment, Climate Action, and Constituency Empowerment, is currently attending a series of global meetings that are targeting climate finance and private sector partnership for climate action at the 77th General Debate of the United Nations General Assembly that began on Tuesday, September 20th, 2022 in New York. The main concerns shaping the agenda surround energy and climate. These include high-level discussions on the negative elements in a changing climate, as well as a likely partnership between the Caribbean and the United States to address energy and climate crises. Other meetings surround policy solutions in tackling plastic pollution were tabled. Dr. Clark is attending these high-level climate change sessions and bilateral meetings on behalf of the Prime Minister, where Caribbean countries are trying to garner support for loss and damage as part of the upcoming COP27 or United Nations Climate Change Conference. This is all in the government's drive to put policies in place to shape much-needed climate action initiatives. Meanwhile, the organization responsible for coordinating the Caribbean region's response to climate change, the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center 5Cs, is headed to St. Kitts to participate in a 2-day South-South conference that brings together regional partners in climate financing. The representatives from the 5Cs have indicated their interest in meeting the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Climate Action, the Honorable Dr. Joel Clark. This is a direct outcome from the conference in the Republic of Korea. In response, the Prime Minister welcomed the dialogue and stated that a goal of the government is for St. Kitts and Nevis to become the first sustainable island state. In regional news, St. Lucia moving ahead with plans to implement universal health care. DBS St. Lucia has the details.
The Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs remains committed to the process of the implementation of universal health coverage UHC in St. Lucia. A coordinated approach towards the implementation of a UHC is demonstrated following the recent announcement of the establishment of a UHC unit spearheaded by a newly appointed director, Dr. Alicia Eugene Ford. Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Jenny Daniel, reiterated the focus and benefits of universal health coverage for the people of St. Lucia.
Universal health coverage speaks to accessibility of care, quality of health services, and equality in the delivery of those services with a focus on preventative health care. The attainment of universal health coverage, however, must be preceded by the strengthening of our health service delivery systems through infrastructural development, establishment of quality assurance standards and licensing of institutions, provision and upgrading of biomedical equipment, strengthening of databases for patient health information, and development of human resource capacity for health.
Dr. Alicia Eugene Ford says the rollout of UHC will be achieved through phases, and in the coming weeks, a series of activities will be undertaken to ensure this is a success.
UHC will be done in phases. Okay, we're going to start in small phases, but what we assure is that every single phase, we want it to be better than what's existing. So we're looking forward to doing UHC in small phases to ensure that we give the public the services that they need. And we want all of St. Lucia to be on board and be part of this, because we know at the end of it, we're not the only one benefiting, but the whole of St. Lucia will benefit from universal health coverage.
Minister for Health, the Honorable Moses Jabatis, reaffirmed his government's commitment to implement universal health coverage and ensure that every individual receive health services needed without suffering financial hardship.
And so the implementation of universal health care, while not a new dream, we are hoping as a government that we can take the concrete steps to make universal health coverage a reality in the future. We know that the implementation of universal health care is challenging and difficult. We know that the planning must be thorough. Our commitment must be intense. The financing of it must be assured.
At present, the Ministry of Health continues to undertake a series of workshops aimed at ensuring the development of the White Paper, which will serve as the roadmap for universal health coverage in St. Lucia. Reporting from the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, I am Fennel Neptune.
We now bring you these international reports.
There's been international condemnation of the self-styled referendums being held in parts of Ukraine on joining Russia. The G7, the group of 7 wealthiest nations, have called the votes a sham, as reports emerged of Russian forces intimidating people to vote. The 4 areas where voting is being held, they include occupied parts of Luhansk and Donetsk in the east, Zaporizhia and Kherson in the south, and cover around 15% of Ukraine's territory. Voting is expected to run until Tuesday, and the result seems almost certain to go in Moscow's favour. Pictures filmed in Russian-occupied Donetsk show representatives taking polling cards to people in their own homes. Meanwhile, Russia is continuing to mobilise its reserve troops with the latest. Here's our Russia editor, Steve Rosenberg.
It was the moment the Kremlin tried to show the people still back their president and what he's doing in Ukraine. Within days, Vladimir Putin is expected to annex a huge swathe of Ukrainian territory. There's international condemnation, but at home, the official picture is they trust Putin. Many of the people here, though, didn't trust us. When we asked the simple question, why have you come to this rally? There was a certain reluctance to answer. But they had something to say on the subject of mobilization. The call-up is worrying everyone with relatives of fighting age, Natalia says. Not Viera. I'd be much happier if my son got wounded fighting in Ukraine than die of alcoholism here, she says. Fighting is a proper man's job. This is not a spontaneous display of love for Vladimir Putin and his policies. It is a highly choreographed affair designed to give the impression that the whole country is behind the president. A lot of the people we've spoken to here today have been brought in specially from schools, from factories and other state organizations. In Ukraine today, in those areas occupied by Russian troops, self-styled referendums began on joining Russia. The West has denounced the votes as a sham, a smokescreen for annexation by Moscow. Back in Russia, more goodbyes, more men called up to fight in Ukraine. There's growing concern here that the scale of mobilization is far greater than the Kremlin had let on. Emotions are running high. Why have you taken our sons? A mother is heard asking this officer. When he tells the audience that his own son isn't eligible for the call-up, listen to the reaction. For the president, this could become a problem. Vladimir Putin once promised Russians stability. Now he's sending them to the front line. Persuading Russians to keep faith in him won't be easy. Steve Rosenberg, BBC News, Moscow.
And now we can talk to our correspondent in Kiev, Hugo Bashega. Hugo, what is the response in Kiev to these referendums?
Well, Tanya, the Ukrainians are saying that this is a farce. There's no legal basis for this so-called referendum. And I think the message has been a similar message that has been coming out from Western countries, that this is an illegal process that is being used by Moscow as perhaps a justification for the annexation of parts of Ukraine. I think we all know how this is going to go. I think there was a poll that was released by Russian state media yesterday saying that between 80 and 90% of voters in these occupied areas where this so-called referendum is being held are in favor of joining Russia. So I think it gives us a sense of what we can expect in terms of the official results of this so-called referendum. But we're hearing reports from those areas saying that soldiers are going door to door, forcing people to vote. People are saying that they're being threatened in those areas, and Ukrainian officials are saying that the population has been banned from leaving some towns and cities where this vote is taking place. But here in Ukraine, the officials are saying that this doesn't change anything and that they will continue with their counteroffensive to retake territory that's now under Russian occupation.
Yeah, so what do they expect to happen next, and whether these referendums could change the course of the conflict?
So obviously I think the fear is that this is going to be used by Moscow as a reason to perhaps step up their military activity. They could say, well, look, these areas are now part of Russian territory, and we're going to defend them as if they are part of Russia. So I think this is the main fear, even though authorities here are dismissing the vote. They say that things are not going to change, but I think we need to wait to see what Russia is going to do as a response to this vote. The vote started yesterday. It is being held in areas in 4 different regions of the country, and the so-called referendum is expected to be held until Tuesday. So then we're expecting to hear the official results after this vote then.
And this, of course, against a backdrop of further mobilization in Russia. Does Ukraine see that as a threat?
I think the response that I got from a top advisor to President Zelensky was that this was more a response from Russia to its defeats on the battlefield. There was a little bit of criticism, especially on state television in Russia, and here the view is that President Putin had to do something. I think the view here is that it is going to take a long time for these people to be trained, to receive military training and equipment, and we're talking about perhaps 90 days between the point of these people being recruited and the moment they arrive here in Ukraine. So they think that this is not something that is going to cause a lot of concern for now. But again, they're using it as another reason to request more military aid from Western partners. And they believe that this is Russia's response to the defeats on the battlefield.
third of Americans, including half of Republicans and 1 in 6 Democrats, say it's okay for state officials to fly or bus migrants to other states. That's according to a new Reuters Ipsos poll.
Using migrants as political pawns is shameful.
The poll follows what the White House has called a political stunt. That is, part of a campaign by Republican governors to shift the immigration burden to Democratic areas by busing or flying migrants across the country. Most recently, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis took credit for 2 flights carrying around 50 migrants, mostly Venezuelan, from San Antonio, Texas to Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts, many of whom reported being misled about where they were going or services available to them upon arrival.
What was promised to them? What, if anything, did they sign?
A Texas sheriff is investigating the incident.
We are not a sanctuary state.
Republican leaders like DeSantis, who is up for re-election in November and a potential 2024 presidential candidate, are betting their immigration policies and proposals will help move their core supporters ahead of the November 8 midterms. The 2-day poll, concluded on Thursday, showed Americans are deeply divided on immigration, even within their political parties. 53% of Republicans supported the migrant relocation move, while 29% opposed it. For Democrats, 16% supported the practice, while 55% were opposed. Overall, only 29% of Americans support it, and 40% are opposed. About half of Democratic respondents agreed that it should be easier for people to immigrate to the U.S. 6 in 10 Republican respondents disagreed. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican facing re-election in November, has sent roughly 11,500 migrants to Washington, New York, and Chicago since April. Leading Democrats, including California Governor Gavin Newsom, said some of the state moves to ship migrants north could be criminal and urged federal prosecutors to investigate.
You were listening to the WINN FM headline news on 98.9. Our top stories were: missing person Zonna Hamilton found dead. Caribbean leaders address the 77th United Nations General Assembly. St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister addresses climate security, education, and more. The Honorable Dr. Joel Clark attends the 77th United Nations General Assembly in New York. St. Lucia moving ahead with plans to implement universal health care. Internationally, Ukrainians have reported armed soldiers going door to door in occupied parts of the country to collect votes for self-styled referendums on joining Russia. Thank you for listening.
That was the WINN FM Headline News. The Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and the ICDF Taiwan Technical Mission.
Think before you bin it. There can be some use in it. The St. Kitts and Nevis Solid Waste Management, in collaboration with Taiwan ICDF Technical Mission and the Department of Environment, presents Let's Recycle. We are encouraging all residential homes, commercial businesses, and schools to bring along your plastic bottles, metal cans, and aluminum cans, ready for an opportunity to win big. From 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every second and fourth Tuesday each month at the following locations in St. Kitts: the Connery Roundabout, every first and third Tuesday at Buckley's parking lot in front of Best Buy, and the last Saturday of each month in Deep Bay. In Nevis, every second and fourth Friday of each month at Delta Petroleum, Ex-Petrol in Camps, Big Six in Gingerland, and Old Artisan Village in Charlestown. But wait, that's not all. 1 pound equals 1 point. So bring your recyclables and build up your points for a chance to win stainless steel thermal bottle, flatware set, and much more. To learn more about the recycling project, do visit our Facebook page at Let's Recycle in St. Kitts and Nevis, or contact us at 465-2372. The choice is yours. Save it or waste it. You are the difference. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoy the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king.
Please drink responsibly.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WINN FM.
People make the world go
Financial Services. We're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small, we'll support you with them all. TDC Financial Services. We are strong. TDC Financial Services. This is where you belong.
TDC
Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Here are your Horsewood Value Mart IGA Value Club Blue Tag specials from September 22nd through October 5th. Arm & Hammer liquid detergent, just $34.99. Bertolli olive oil, $23.99. Bounty Essential paper towel, big rolls, $36.99. IGA or Essential Everyday waffles, just $8.99. Ocean Spray 100% cranberry juice mixes, $11.99. Essential Everyday breadcrumbs, just $6.99. And now, our very low weekly
value deals. Bugles or Chex Mix snacks, $11.99. Essential Everyday canned fruits, $7.99. IGA Essential Everyday chunk like tuna, $3.49. Essential Everyday shredded and chunk cheeses, $7.99. Arm & Hammer toothpaste, $11.99. Gatorade drinks, $4.49. Shop smart, shop value mart. Don't let it Spanish.
Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí a Value Mart.
People make the world go
Welcome back to Inside the News here on WINN FM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. It is 41 minutes, 41 minutes past the hour of 12. And of course, we go right up until 1:30 here today, Saturday, September 24, 2022. All right, for those of you who missed the first hour, we were on the statement made by the Prime Minister at the 77th General Assembly of the United Nations on Friday at 5 p.m. And as I stated, the Prime Minister spoke on areas of education, youth and women empowerment, climate action and security, and the list goes on. We have a call on the line. Let's try to get this call in. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello, caller. Good afternoon. Okay, we're not getting that caller. We're working on getting that sorted out, but you can call us at 466-0989, 762-0989 or 662-0989. You can also leave us a message on our Facebook and YouTube pages via the live streams there so that you can lend your participation. So as I said earlier, the Prime Minister, he was speaking at the 77th General Assembly of the UN and spoke on a number of areas that that need to be addressed, CARICOM and globally, internationally, governments across the Caribbean working together to achieve one common goal, as there are issues that not only affect St. Kitts and Nevis but affect the entire Caribbean region, and it would require us really coming together to get that sorted out. I remember in the early parts of COVID, or during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the different ministries of health across the region were implementing their COVID-19 prevention and control measures, and when they were, putting travel bans and travel restrictions in place from certain countries, particularly those countries that had a high case count and those countries that were deemed high risk. And so, an advisory had been put out to say, refrain or avoid traveling to these countries due to the high amount of COVID-19 cases that are there. And when the pandemic started in early March 2020, everybody was doing their own thing. So here it is that you have a regional body such as CARICOM, but they, based on what we saw, had not been working together. They were not working together, and everybody, basically was doing their own thing. Of course, the rules that apply to St. Kitts and Nevis, you can't necessarily use them to apply them to Grenada or to Trinidad and Tobago or to St. Vincent and the Grenadines or Antigua and Barbuda. But as a regional body such as CARICOM, you come together, the different ministers of health and prime ministers and different COVID-19 task force and committees, you come together and you establish, a framework or something to say, we're going to enter this pandemic together and we're going to work together as one Caribbean. But that did not happen. Everybody was working by themselves and doing their own thing. And so I raised that point in connection to some of the issues. I mean, climate action and security. These are global threats. But I believe that these are areas that the government, or Caribbean governments, that is, can work together instead of everybody trying to do their own thing. Because, of course, trying to get things done in these areas may be really expensive, and governments may not be able to find the capital to get some of these things done. So we're hoping that, coming out of the 77th session of the UN General Assembly, that some real and meaningful action would be done, and that we can see some real positive changes, not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, but across the Caribbean and, of course, the world by extension. These are things that Caribbean people are looking forward to, but we have to work together. We have to stick together, and we have to get these things done. As I said, no longer are our people looking for lip service. No longer are our people saying or just waiting for our leaders to come and talk about all of the glorious things that they intend to do, and then not do them, not get these things on the road, not get these things completed. We are a strong-minded, independent thinking people. We want to see real action. We want to see our government doing real things and getting things accomplished, not just to come and talk about what you want to do and you end up not doing it. Now, I wanted to touch on something else. Looking at some of the major developments happening throughout the week in our news, and some, of course, very interesting items. Some very good news. Firstly, relating to the Carnival Committee, where the St. Kitts Nevis Carnival Committee launched. They have been launched, and patrons can now expect a return of all major events, of course, with the lifting of COVID-19 protocols. And then the former director of public prosecution says his departure was voluntary and not a political dismissal. The DPP used the opportunity to reach out to the media here in St. Kitts and Nevis following some comments that had been made on Facebook suggesting that he was victimized. If I may read an article that we did here, it says the former DPP, Valston Graham, he has addressed reports about his departure from his position, and in speaking with WINN, Graham said that he felt he needed to clear the air as he saw comments suggesting that he was ousted from the position and basically felt the need to clear the air. Graham said, I've seen a lot of comments and people saying that I've been ousted. I have not been ousted. My contract has come to an end, and that's the simple matter as it is. So I thought it's important. Persons who are close to me have said to me, I think you should really clear the air. I don't think that perception is something that was done by the Attorney General. He simply did his job to notify the public of a change. That comes under his remit, and I take no issue with that. He went on to say, now my departure from office is purely a matter of my decision making. I never sought for my contract to be renewed, and I need that to be made blatantly and expressly clear. At no point in time did I seek to have my contract renewed. It was an open secret that I had no intention of renewing my contract. My contract dictated how a renewal is sought to be done. It provided for me to give an indication of renewal at least 3 months prior to the end of the contract, which was June of this year. And in June, I did no such thing, and that was communicated to the previous Attorney General and the current Attorney General when I met him when he first came in office. With the change of the DPP, of course, the work is continuing, as signaled by the current Attorney General, the Honorable Garth Wilkin. There are certain areas that the government would continue to work on. One being the Freedom of Information Act. The Freedom of Information Act. This has been, let me say, in the wind for quite some time. It has been in the wind for quite some time. And the previous government, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, really dragged their feet on it. Yes, some preliminary work and some work basically was done, but it was not treated with urgency, as a matter of urgency, to say, hey, this is something that we have to get on the road. This is something that we have to get done now. And so that is why, people are now looking forward to the new administration to really treat this with great respect and to get this on the road. There isn't much that would need to be done to get the Freedom of Information Act, fully operationalized and up and running, because as we know, some work has really been done already, The preliminary work in terms of setting up an actual framework, an actual structure, so that people could understand how this should be done. With a new DPP, well, I think there is an acting DPP right now, but some of the other areas that they would be working on, as indicated by not specifically the DPP, but the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs, is the Anti-Corruption Act, which the AG spoke about, and the Integrity in Public Life Act. I recall a situation where there was involving the Minister Spencer Brandon Nevis with a $120 million project, where the opposition there had been calling for the act to be, for the authorities, the Integrity Commissioner Nevis, to investigate the matter and to use the Nevis Integrity, or the Integrity in Public Life Act, or Ordinance, I think that is what they call it in Nevis, to deal with that matter. But because I think there was a specific clause that was missing, and then nothing could have been done at the federal level because the act hasn't really been, operationalized. And so now that this is in place, people who are in public life, would be guided by that. The AG said, our Prime Minister, who shares my passion, has therefore instructed me to swiftly implement the Integrity in Public Life Act, the Freedom of Information Act, and a brand new Anti-Corruption Act. And he said those laws will be fully operational in 2022. And this is something that people are going to remember and will be looking forward to. As I mentioned earlier in the program, the Media Association, they were here this week with President and First Vice President, Mr. Huey and Mr. Bart, and spoke about made mention of some of the meetings that the Media Association, had with the previous Attorney General and the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs, and now Attorney General Garth working. And so the work is really continuing. The Media Association, they're continuing to follow up. But they also emphasize that this was not just for the media. This wasn't just for the media. This is for generally citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, being able to request information from the government. Of course, in other countries, they have different names, but here is the Freedom of Information Act. But that is one thing that really has been talked about much. And then, of course, you have good governance and gender and all of those other things. So we're hoping that these things can get on the road as changes are made within the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs. But we're really hoping that these things can be on the top of the list, or at least in the top 5 or top 10. But the top of the list as great priority, and hoping that we can see some real work done here. As I say, our people are tired of the lip service, or people are tired of us coming saying, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then when the opportunity is there to make that change and to do something real, we take advantage by not doing anything at all. Maybe just as a publicity stunt and say, oh, look, you're doing something. And of course, nothing really happens after that. But we're hoping that there can be some real, meaningful change. That changes are being made and things are being done, meetings, and, the government is assessing whatever. But people want to see some real action. And no longer would we want to just hear of these things happening, but we want to see these things really going on. As I mentioned, also with the Media Association, they have been we recently hosted a economic and financial reporting workshop, And of course, this is geared towards preparing media workers, journalists, reporters, and everybody who work in the field to prepare or better equip them, with presenting on financial and economic reports and all of that. And, with the budget coming up in December and the IMF report and other financial reports, it would provide the opportunity for reporters to, present or do a more comprehensive report on matters of the economy and financial matters. At times, you would find that the media may fall short in that area. And it's simply because you may not understand, as Mr. Huey said, some of the terminologies and some of the things that are used specifically when dealing with financial matters and matters of the economy. And so the workshop that began last Thursday, or this week Thursday, will go on for about 4 weeks. And of course, equipping reporters and journalists, with the necessary skills and the knowledge of presenting on matters of the economy and finance. So these are some of the things that took place throughout the week. We know that the Media Association was revived in April of 2022. Had been dormant for quite some time, but they were revived in April 2022 and currently on a media tour, meeting with different media managers and owners of media houses across the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And really and truly, the Media Association is there to represent people who work in the industry. We know that the expectation of people who work in the media is really high, and the Media Association is a group of media workers coming together, really trying to help themselves. I mean, the economic and financial reporting workshop is just one of the many ways that they would be trying to help each other. And so other media workers, of course, you are encouraged to take advantage of these opportunities when they come. You may not necessarily have the financial resources to go off to university or anything like that, but when these opportunities for training come, taking advantage of them, really, 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 really important. As I said, the expectation of media workers really, really high, and people do expect, as somebody who's in the media, people always expect you to know everything that is going on because you're in the media, you're reading the news, you are involved. And so generally people really expect you to know all that is going on. I mean, for me working in this industry now for about 4 years, 4 or 5 years, started in 2018, always reading up on what is happening in the country, what is happening across the region, what is happening internationally is really important. Of course, giving you that opportunity to be well-rounded and more informed on topics. Of course, not being an expert during the COVID-19, during the height of the pandemic, that was a very ticklish area where, you had a situation where some people, declined to comment on COVID-related matters because it was a situation where you did not necessarily know the specifics of what was going on. And so people, were hesitant to comment on matters of COVID-19 and all of that. It is 1 o'clock here in the studios of WINN FM 98.9. We'll take a break to give a shout out to our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll continue the program right here on WINN FM 98.9. We'll take this break, and I'll be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM. We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM.
Everybody beware, you better prepare. Disaster can happen anytime, anywhere. Everybody beware, you better prepare. Disaster can happen anytime, anywhere.
How do I prepare a disaster plan? Step 1. Learn as much as you can. The first step is research. Do not wait until a disaster is coming to find important information. This step is incredibly important for your plan. Here are some things you should find out. What hazards are you exposed to? Do you live near the ocean or any rivers? Are you near to a volcano? The type of hazard you're exposed to will determine the way you prepare yourself. Find out about disaster plans at your child's school and at your workplace. Are there persons with disabilities in your family? Do you know how to help them? What about your pets? Do you have a plan for them? For more information, visit nema.kn or log on to NEMA SKN on Facebook.
Everybody beware, you better prepare. Disaster can happen anytime, anywhere. Everybody
If you need protection, you need one who you can trust. To secure your investment, you need one who'll do you just. TDC Insurance, you're the one that you can trust. TDC Insurance, you're always safe with us.
TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind.
You're always safe with us.
people make the world go
Yes? Jean, body spray's hot, boy. I can't take it. Well, it's a good thing I called. The TDC Home and Building Depots are having their Cool 'em Down sale with 20% discount on fans, AC units, coolers, fridges, and more to beat this heat, girl. Girl, Betty, you're making joke. No, so stop sweating and let's go to the store now.
Ooh, you come pick me up, because may want to miss the sale at TDC Home and Building Depot.
Yeah, man. And don't forget you can also shop online too, using shoptdcgroup.com.
Cool.
Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Portsmouth's Value Mart IGA is helping you spend less and save more. How, you ask? Essential Everyday and Equiline. Spend less on our Essential Everyday products and get the best quality, the best taste, and the best value. Spend less for all your family health and beauty needs with the Equiline brand of over-the-counter products. Portsmouth's Value Mart IGA is helping you spend less. With our Essential Everyday products and Equiline over-the-counter health and beauty care products. Shop smart and spend less at Value Mart, where price matters most.
Welcome back to Inside the News here on WINN FM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. It's Saturday, September 24, 2022. Also making the news this week, which I think was a major talking point for quite some time, and I think people are very much still talking about it, was the Attorney General, Garth Wilking, was at a youth forum hosted by the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association. And at that youth forum, the Attorney General spoke about the possibility of shedding light on people who have taken advantage of the Treasury. The Attorney General, the Honorable Garth Wilking, has been making waves on social media because of statements during a youth forum on September 21. The AG was answering a question about the measures and ramifications for people who use their position in government for their gain. Wilkin explained the process and indicated that he might be embarrassing some people by saying, quote, decision to prosecute for crimes under our Constitution is solely within the purview of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Governments cannot decide whether to prosecute previous governments. For minor infractions, we can take persons before the Public Service Commission with the evidence that we have, and they could potentially be removed from the public service. After yesterday and some things that I discovered, I might be publicly embarrassing some people, which might actually be worse than going to prison. I'm contemplating whether I should do that, and I am minded, more so, 70 to 30, to embarrass some people who might not have been corrupt, but were, and I don't want to use the word as I used earlier, but not very friendly towards our Treasury. And I'm not going to tolerate that, and I'm going to embarrass some people. Also, we're considering appointing a special prosecutor that can engage auditors, independent auditors, to investigate some of the statutory corporations, and then that special prosecutor can then prepare reports to present to the DPP, who will then decide whether to prosecute or not. I think it's time we need to draw a line in the sand, and we need to make sure that we have a better country moving forward. Of course, this was shocking, I would say shocking news, or it really became a hot topic since the youth forum, and many people have been commenting on it. Some in anticipation of the AG revealing some of the people that have been unfriendly and unkind to the country's treasury. But I'll say this much: this is not something new, where we have people who take advantage of the system. They are elected to office, they are placed in prestigious and healthy and wealthy positions, and instead of using that position to effect and to bring about some real change, they rape the country and they take advantage of poor people. And instead of helping poor people remain poor. And those who are rich get richer. And so we're hoping that this is not, and as I said to the AG, we are hoping, and I'm hoping, that this is not just lip service. That we're not just making these statements just to entice people. But that this will be done all across the board. Not just for a selected few. Not just for somebody over there in the corner, somebody over there, but all across the board. Because we have a situation in this country where some people, they get positions and they do some real terrible things with the country's money. And then these are the same people who would come back and say, the government can't afford this and the government can't afford that, and young people and educated people and people who are deserving of an opportunity miss out on the opportunity because somebody decided that they were going to take an extra $200,000 from the treasury. And so you missed out on that opportunity because somebody wanted to be greedy and selfish. And so you're hoping that these things will be done across the board. Too many times, on too many occasions, we've been hearing of people just abusing the system, and then you hear about it for a week. And after you keep following up, you hear nothing else about it because it is brushed under the rug, pushed under the rug, pushed aside. And you may receive a call to say, man, come off of that. Don't talk about that. That's not popular. You might get yourself in trouble. You know? So we want to see, and I applaud this. I applaud the AG for making this statement. But we want to see some real action. We want these things to be addressed across the board, everybody. Not suggesting that a selected few will be targeted. I'm not saying that. But this is something that has been going on for some time, and it is now time for us to stamp it out. We can't keep allowing people to take advantage of this system. While there are people out there who, man, they work hard. They do their part in nation building. And they're left by the wayside. They're left by the side of the road, missing out on the opportunities that are there. Just because somebody decided to dip their hand in the cookie jar and take out what they're not supposed to take out. So we want to see, and this is something that we will be following up on. There are a number of pending things that are pending that we are yet to hear about. And these things go quite some time back, even before I began working in the industry, in media. Years ago. You hear about the launching of investigations into this, into that, and you hear about it for 2 weeks and then that's it. Because you see, one of the problems we have in this country is that it is so small that everybody and everybody's friend. And so you trying to do your work, you're trying to do your work, but at the end of the day you get an enemy because they think you're trying to target them personally when really and truly you're just trying to do your job. You're just trying to do your job. But we're a small country and everybody knows everybody and you don't want to touch certain things. And people do have real reasons and genuine reasons as to why they don't want to touch certain things. I mean, even as reporters, there's certain stories that reporters would not necessarily want to touch for fear of their life. Because remember, at times reporters are well loved and at times reporters are hated. They hate. And there's great hate and animosity and all of that towards reporters, you know. I've experienced it. When you speak on things that people like, oh, they love you. But as soon as you talk about something that they do not agree with, they want to kill you. Which is sad. And so that is why we're going to have corruption in the country. That is why people are going to steal from the government. That is why people are going to rape the country. And the poor will remain poor and the rich will become richer. Because at times we turn a blind eye. And we look the other way. Because we don't want to ruffle some feathers. We don't want to ruffle some feathers. I know sometimes you don't even want to have a conversation like this, but it is the reality. This place is corrupt. And we know that. And there are people in high places doing terrible things. Terrible, terrible things. And people who are hardworking, people who are just trying to make a difference, people who are just trying to do something real with their life and something meaningful, they miss out on the opportunity. Because somebody wants to take all for themselves. So we are truly in a sad state of affairs. And we as a people, we have work to do. We have work to do. No longer can we come and talk about, we want to stamp out corruption, we want to fix this, we want to fix that, and then you don't do nothing about it. Man, you're insulting people. And we've been insulting each other for years in this country. Because we talk about all these investigations, and sometimes you just get so annoyed because all these investigations start and they're never completed. I have to laugh, oh my gosh. Really, really, really sad. Really sad. But as I said, we're a small place. St. Kitts and Nevis is a small country, and everybody knows everybody. So sometimes you may be the investigator and you're probably investigating a second or a third cousin, and the family relationship gets in the way, and the auntie call you and say, man, don't do that because that's your cousin. So we're a small country, and while certain things will be able to happen in larger countries, may not necessarily be the case here in St. Kitts and Nevis because the place is so small and we all basically know each other. We all know each other. And so while you're investigating and following up on things, you realize that these are people who you know. These are people who you've worked with. These are people who you went to school with. These are people who you looked up to in life. These are people who should have been your role model. Right here in this country. I mean, generally across the Caribbean, the corruption is at an all-time high. And it is terrible. It is really, really terrible. We oftentimes talk about change. And for some people, change is just a change of administration. No. It should be a change in the way of how we do things. It should be a change in stamping out people from taking up the government money and carrying it home like it is theirs. No. Oh my gosh. A change in the way of how we do things. A change in our mentality of how we think. And so while the poor work hard, send their children off to school, they come back with their qualification, years of experience, but because they're from a certain family, they miss out. But if you carry that specific last name, everything is for you. We have some serious worthlessness and some corruption in this country, and I'm not going to apologize for saying that because it is the truth. It is the gospel truth. We have serious problems. And I know this may not sound patriotic, but it is the truth, and it is a conversation that we need to have. It may not be the most popular conversation to have. I know oftentimes we like to talk about all the glorious things, and that is fine. But we have problems in our country that we need to look at. Not when it is convenient. Not when it suits some. Not when it is targeting a selected few. But addressing these problems and looking at these problems across the board. So, well, if I'm going to investigate Tom, or if I'm going to hold Tom accountable, the same thing will be done for Harry. and for John and for Mary. So these are the things that we have to really take serious, you know? Too many people have suffered. Too many people have suffered in this country. People who are hard-working, genuine people, just want to make a difference, just want to do their part in nation and community development and building, you know? And oftentimes they miss out on opportunities. They miss out on, making their contribution just because. There's so many things that we can talk about. There's so many things that are wrong in this country that, as I said earlier, for genuine fear of your life, for genuine fear of your job, for genuine fear of your livelihood, sometimes you just have to, you take up the paper, you read the file, and then you put it in the desk. Because you're trying to protect your family. And you're trying to, be able to pay your rent or your mortgage. It is sad. Very, very, very sad. So these are the things that we have to look and work on. Look to or will work on. And so I applaud the AG for saying this. And rest assured that I will be following up to ensure that work is done. Because our people are tired of the lip service. We have had too many of that over the years. Telling us about all the glorious things that will be done. And areas that we will be focusing on and all of that. And then we get a great disappointment. And we wonder why people don't even want to be a part of the process. Why people just want to, they go to work, they live their lives, they go home, they go on a vacation, they come back, and that's it. They mind the business. But we got some serious problems in this country, eh? And I know this may not be the patriotic thing to say, but it is the truth. We have serious problems that we need to take care of. That is the only way, in my view, how we can truly move forward as a nation, as a country, if everybody's going to be treated fairly. Not looking at people's background, where they come from, their religious background, their political affiliation, and all of those other things. But treating people fairly. Equality, justice for all. And so we have a lot of work to do in St. Kitts and Nevis, and a lot of work to do in the Caribbean. And people who are in high places, and let me say this in dialect, when you thief the government money, you should go to jail. Because when the poor man tries something or do something, they're slapped with several charges. But when it is somebody in high places, that person is pardoned or brushed aside, and the problem is swept under the rug, and you never hear anything about it again. And then we wonder why the place is so messed up. We wonder why sometimes people go crazy. We wonder why. But it is a real issue. It is a cancer that we have here. But we want to see real action. Real change. Not just to talk about it, but we want to see it happen. Give people hope. You know? That is my only wish. And so we want to see these things happen across the board, where these matters will be addressed. So the Freedom of Information Act, the Integrity in Public Life Act, and as mentioned by the AG, the Anti-Corruption Act, and all of the other acts and laws and bills and all of these things. We just don't want to hear that you're going to implement them. We want them to be implemented. Not suggesting that the AG is not going to take these things serious, but we still have to say it. Because time and time again, boy, we've been promised, we've been told that this is going to happen and that is going to happen. And then our people truly get disappointed. Our people truly get disappointed. Caribbean people as a whole get disappointed in our politicians, in our leaders, because they continue to fail us miserably. This is outside of the partisan politics between political parties. I'm talking about the actual running of government. Right down from a junior officer right up to Governor General. Real, meaningful change is what the people want to see. And so the Caribbean as a whole has a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. It is 1:30 here in the studios of WINN FM 98.9. I see the phone lines are ringing off the hook, but we're having some technical difficulties at the phone lines, and we'll definitely have that sorted out. And I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience caused. But I just wanted to get that off of my chest, and I wanted to say that. Some of you may agree with me, and some of you may not agree with me. And that's fine. All the time I want my listeners to agree with everything that I say. Doesn't make any sense. You may agree, you may disagree. That is how the world works. But we want to see action. We want to see, things really happening. Young people are fed up. Young people are truly, truly fed up of people just pushing themselves up and being greedy people and just taking everything for themselves and not wanting to give young people the opportunity. I'm not trying to make this about young people alone, because you do have older folks that make real and meaningful contribution towards the country's development. And because then they may not be from a certain class, they are left out. But I believe in youth and experience and giving all people, regardless of where they come from, their age, whatever, the opportunity in their country, regardless of where you come from, whether you're from St. Paul's or Charlestown or from Brownhill or Tabernacle or from Keon or from Bat Village, doesn't really matter to me. I've been your host for today's edition of Inside the News here on WINN FM 98.9. Until next time, you guys stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And by God's grace, I hope to be here next week. You guys take care and have a good one.
NEMA.kn. From danger to safety, NEMA's there for you. I am Jamelia Henry.
Everybody beware, you better prepare. Disaster can happen anytime, anywhere.
Don't stop, won't stop, can't stop the never-ending cashback at Horsford's. Yes, it's that time of the year. Double cashback coupon season is here. The season when Horsford's Furniture and Appliances gives away millions in free groceries.